There we go. Now we have it. Now we have it. So we can start our continuity of the Lojong of mind training. And today, finally, we can do it. We can start the text itself. So that is a very good thing already. I think we created the necessary causes and conditions for it to happen. Most of the problems and the obstacles we had was my obstacles of my crazy mind. Nothing coming from your side, but mainly from my crazy mind. But now today we finally will do it. So before we started, let's always, start with our motivation. Very important. I love the way Kandula always says, if we don't use our time here together in order to, yeah, to benefit our minds. And the way to benefit our minds is actually to decrease and eliminate the sufferings and the causes of sufferings and to develop our good qualities, right? Develop our love and compassion and wisdom in an unlimited and unconditional way. So that is the goal. That is what benefits us. But not only benefits us, but at the same time is the way that we can actually develop for also developing our minds, developing our hearts, so we can also develop our skills to also help others. So this is the bodhicitta motivation, right? That wish, that knowing that in order to help others, in order to fulfill, the wishes of sentient beings, this wish of wanting to be happy and not suffer that we have within ourselves, all sentient beings have as well. So to order to fulfill that, the best way to fulfill that is becoming a Buddha. That is the best way. So that's what we are like aspire to. So whatever we're gonna do, and especially we are doing the Lojong teachings, which as we saw, they are mainly focused on developing bodhicitta. That's their main goal, as we're gonna see today, especially on the first verse. But that is the idea. So then, for us to actually create that wish, create that, that development, we need to familiarize ourselves with this thought, of bodhicitta, because it's a very foreign, alien thought for ourselves right here, right now. We don't think about others. We don't even think about, maybe sometimes we do. Sometimes we think about, our family, friends, or even things that we see in the newspapers or the news, that they're not so nice. And then we kind of like we say, oh, wow, this is so sad. But we don't think to actually develop ourselves so we can help them to be free from their sufferings, right? Normally we just stop with that pity of like, oh yes, it's so sad, oh, so sad, but not with that wish to work on ourselves, to really put energy, to put effort, because it's not easy. The spiritual path is not easy because we are going against the habitual tendencies of our minds, the habitual tendencies of our family, the habitual tendencies of our society, isn't it? They're very different. Dharma normally is going to go like the values of Dharma. I was talking about that with someone today. The values of Dharma, they are very different with the values that we are upholding nowadays in our societies, isn't it? Is unfortunately is one of the ideas of the that we have right now, which is, yeah, we are not valuing human connection. No, human values, as His Holiness, as the Dalai Lama always says, human values. Unfortunately, we are more concerned with material values, external values, status, and, reputation, all of that, much more important than actually being a nice and kind, warm hearted person. So that's why, we always need to start with a motivation. And the motivation needs to go into that direction, especially this group here. You know, all of you have been listening the Dharma much longer than me, or you know much more than me, but I don't know what is the crazy karma you created for having to listen to my blah blah blah. But but we're gonna be but that is the thing that is the goal. That is the aim. That's what we need to nourish in ourselves. We want to really achieve enlightenment. We need to develop that real wish, night and day, as we say. And for that, we need to put a bit of effort, Rinpoche used to say we start with effort meditation. So that means that we guide, we kind of like take our mind, like, think about others. Yes, in the beginning, it's a little bit fake, you know? It's kind of like a AI. You know, we are trying to do it, we think it is, but it's not yet. But with time, that starts to develop and really become that mind. And the more we do it, the easier it becomes. That we know. Everything that we do is like this. The easier we do, the more you do it, the easier it becomes. So that is why we need to do these prayers. You know, that is the type of mindset that we should be doing when we are doing these prayers. Because these prayers are aspirational prayers. We are aspiring in order to achieve that. You know, we are aspiring because we want to achieve that. So that's the reason why we do it. Okay? So let's just take a moment just to settle our crazy minds, just paying attention a little bit of our in our bodies, sitting wherever you're sitting in your home or at work or whatever, wherever you are. Just become aware of it. And we can check for any tension, relaxing, any stress or pain or whatever we might be feeling that is tight in our bodies. And once we relaxed a little bit more the body, then we can start checking our mind, our mental and emotional state. Checking in with yourself, how you're doing, how you're feeling. Because wherever we are, you know, in our emotional state, whatever we are feeling, experiencing, in one way or another, we decided to be here together tonight. So just check, what is your reason or your reasoning, your logic for being here. And maybe we are starting to notice the uncontrolled state of mind that we have, the different types of physical, mental, emotional suffering that we go through, not only our days, but our lives. And maybe we are trying to look for a more long term solution instead of just looking for our distractions and ways to, yeah, suppress what we are actually experiencing. But trying to understand the causes of it and looking for a solution to eliminate these causes. And when we start to look around us, we start to see that the world is really in a strange place. Many people also suffering physically, emotionally, mentally. So if we find a way to decrease and eliminate these sufferings within ourselves, then we are actually able to better help others so they can also be free from their suffering. So that is the Buddhist approach. That is the Mahayana approach. Wanting to develop our qualities and our skills, and at the same time looking for, the everlasting solution to eliminate the causes of our suffering and the suffering in ourselves, so we can help and benefit others in the same way. And for that, we need inspiration, we need energy, we need, to believe it is possible. So that's why we visualize in front of us our teachers, the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, all of those that inspire us to walk this path. They are made of light, golden light, and they look at us with this face of no judgment, accepting us exactly as we are. And in reality, due to their prayers and their wishes to benefit others, they are always there. So we can always reach out to them. So now we are reaching out to them and asking them to inspire us, to bless us. So we can be here together today by studying, contemplating, meditating together, and applying these incredible teachings to our own minds and our own lives. So we can one day become just like them, free from suffering and full of qualities. And for reminding ourselves of our intention to benefit others, we're going to visualize others surrounding us. We can visualize our father and male figures on the right hand side, female, our mothers and female figures, on the left side, surrounding us like we are on a beach, and then many, many people, vast amount of people around us, and especially those that we have difficulties with in front of us. So our compassion can be directed towards them as well. And all other sentient beings, animals, spirits, any type of different entities, different realm beings that might be there, they also are here, wanting, we are guiding them so they can also develop their minds and open their hearts. So when we do this, when we're gonna do these prayers, we need to do it in this way. Let me put here. So we can start with the four immeasurables by thinking about developing our hearts so we can help them. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that is free from suffering. And may all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment for friends and hatred for enemies. And then we're going to take refuge and generate the bodhicitta mind. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. Now that we created this wish, how do we put it into practice? That is exactly why we have this text. You know, the text that we're going to start today is a text that is directed to help us develop the bodhicitta mind, as we said. So it's a text that is quite Lojong is, the what we call the thought transformation types of teachings. They are very direct and very grounded teachings. Okay, so they are not so much to be seen as something that is like, oh yeah, it was done, 200, 300, 400, 1000 years ago, but actually something that we can do it right here and right now. Okay, so, and remember, we need to remember that the goal of them is to develop bodhicitta. That is what we want to do it. Okay, that's why we are actually learning this text. So I'm gonna share with you. I don't know if all of you have the text. Yeah, Lojong Tsikip Ma, 8 verses of thought transformation. So here we're going to start talking about the main cause or the main problem that don't allow us to actually develop the bodhicitta motivation. Okay? And what is it? What it doesn't allow us to actually develop bodhicitta motivation? Anyone? What is the main cause for us not to develop bodhicitta? For not develop the mind that thinks about others? What our minds are fixed instead of thinking about others.
Think about
Self-cherishing.
ourselves.
Sorry?
Self-cherishing.
Self-cherishing. Very good. Yes. That is our main focus nowadays, isn't it? And this is something that we need to actually acknowledge. If we're going to talk about, thinking about, I don't like this thing about having this text in front of me. If we think about not that, how can we develop bodhicitta if we don't acknowledge where we are at, right? So if I don't know that I have a problem, I will not look for a solution. So I will never look for a solution of transforming my heart and opening my heart if I don't see that I have a problem. So that is why the text starts with thinking about us or showing us our body, our selfish motivation. And in these, decide and checking with us or guiding us to realize that the attachment that we have towards ourselves and everything that I want for myself, everything that is going to make me happy, this is the main topic of our minds. So when we are talking about thought transformation, we are talking about something that will come and change that, right? Change the status quo or the kind of like the mind that we are having now, and we'll kind of like put an opposite of it, a beneficial one, something that will kind of like transform it in a way that will help us to not only let it go of that, but then develop something that is actually beneficial. So that's why the texts start. Again, I need to go back to that. The term to obtain the greatest possible benefit from all sentient beings who are more precious than a wish fulfilling jewel, I hold them most dear at all times. Okay? So that is the main, it starts like that, the text. So the text starts, the term to obtain the greatest possible benefit. Okay, so the first part is already, the term to obtain the greatest possible benefit. What is the greatest possible benefit in the Buddhist path? Anyone?
Enlightenment.
Yes, exactly. Enlightenment is the main important and the main goal, the main benefit that we can actually get, right? So the text is already showing us, it starts with the goal, right? Starts for us to say, let's not forget that we are doing this mind training, that we are training and changing our minds in order to what? Obtain the greatest possible benefit. So That is what we need to start already checking with ourselves when we are acting in our daily lives, is to try to check, is it this that I am doing, these type of mindsets, that I am engaged with. Like, for example, when I'm getting angry at someone, when I'm getting attached to something or to someone, when I am actually getting, proud or jealous or whatever, is this bringing me to obtain the greatest possible benefit? Is this bringing me to enlightenment? Again, then we need to check what is enlightenment. And enlightenment is that state, no? Of Buddhahood. Buddha, what is a Buddha means, no? Janchup or Sangye in Tibetan, sun purified, eliminated all the suffering and the causes of suffering, and perfected all the good qualities. So whatever we are doing, we need to check, is this bringing me to these two goals? To these two objectives, which is actually one, because when they are united, then enlightenment is achieved. So that is already how the mind training will always be. It's going to be very profound, but very down to earth in some ways, right? So determined, so that means that determined is in the way to say, I need to be determined. I need to create that wish. I need to create that motivation, right? Otherwise, everything that I'm gonna do is never gonna be in order to be able to bring me to the greatest possible benefit. So, as we have been saying, and especially I think in the Tuesday teachings, we are talking about how we can develop our and nourish our intention further and further and further, right? Then it says, the term to obtain the greatest possible benefit from all sentient beings. Here we already start to kind of like think about a little bit different than our me, myself, and I broken record. No? From all sentient beings. But wait a minute. The term to obtain the greatest possible benefit from all sentient beings is not saying for all sentient beings. Okay? So what does it mean here? From all sentient beings instead of for all sentient beings. From all sentient beings is something that is extremely profound. Actually, Nagarjuna has a beautiful text that is called, I think the translation would be something like um, Cherishing Sentient Beings, something like that. It's a beautiful text that is actually talking about how sentient beings are the most important beings because due to their kindness, we can achieve enlightenment. How? Well, because if there is no sentient beings for us to practice decreasing and eliminating, our self-cherishing, if there was no sentient beings, I could never be thinking about others because there wouldn't be no others for me to think about, right? So they are very special for that, very, very special for that. So sentient beings are the main kind of like object of our transformation, right? And second, how can we develop our good qualities? As Roy was saying, how can we develop patience? If we don't have sentient beings being a pain in the ass. So we need sentient beings, that will be there to help us acknowledge and see our own faults and then be able to transform it. So that means that in this way, more than the Buddhas and the teachers, we say, of course, when we start the Lamrim, we always start from the conventional or the conventional way. We always start talking about the importance and the importance of the teacher, right? Because we would never ever heard about bodhicitta, about mind training, about Lojong if it was not the teacher. And that is very true. And Nagarjuna is not saying that the teacher is not important, but Nagarjuna is saying that actually what we have that is so special in our lives is sentient beings, other people. Other people that actually, other beings like animals, like sentient beings, like all of these people that can actually help us, right? To transform our minds. They are the main teachers, let's say like that. And that's what we're going to see it now, in this text about how sentient beings are so powerful in the in the way to help us train and transform our minds. So when we are talking about, wanting to get the biggest benefit, to benefit sentient beings, to achieve this enlightenment state, this state of no more suffering, this state of perfection of qualities, it is through the kindness of sentient beings, right? It's due to sentient beings' kindness that we can actually develop that mindset. It's due to the sentient beings' kindness that we can actually think about other ways of being less self-centered, right? Why? Well, because according to Buddhism, we want to be happy and we don't want to suffer, right? That is, I think, very easy for us to acknowledge that that is what we want. However, what we are doing is that we forget that part, that the same way that we want to be happy and don't want to suffer, all sentient beings are exactly the same. No? We don't give that, we don't pay attention that there's no difference. When someone says something nasty to us, when we are in a kind of like, in a hurry, and someone does something that we don't like, or like we have family conflict, or like a relationship conflict, or a colleague and work related conflict, we forget. In those moments, we totally forget that the reason why, the baseline of the reason why that person is doing what they are doing, is because they are trying to reach happiness and not suffer. Normally, if we forget that, then we get stuck in the story that is coming up in our minds, and we start to debate, no, because how this person is doing this to me, and blah 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 blah. Or we start to say, because I deserve to be happy, as if we are in that situation. Let's say a two people situation, we are the only ones deserving that and wanting that happiness, isn't it? That's how we work. That's how our mind normally goes. We go into this kind of like extremely self-centered, Because when we talk about self-centered and self-cherishing and all of these big words, what does it mean? This is what it means. What it means, that the essence of our lives, the essence of our like day-to-day activity, and the way we respond to things, is putting ourselves first, our own happiness and our own suffering, our own wish to be free from suffering, right? That's what we put first. And we forget. We forget others. We forget that others are exactly like us in the same way. So that's why equanimity is so important. That we establish that mindset, right? That people are exactly the same in this connection. And in this way, I find that this honestly is the basis of the biggest change humanity can actually goes to, which is taking out all of those labels of like I don't know, color, gender, being rich or poor, or being coming from this or that country, and all of that. In the end of the day, when we go down to our basic human levels, we are exactly the same. The richest person and the poorest person, the authoritarian person and the one who is suffering, exactly the same, right? So what do we mean? We mean that then we just don't do anything. Oh yes, no, it's the opposite. Then we start to actually be wanting to do something about it. If we have that mindset will erase or distance ourselves from our broken record of me, myself, and I, and just me. Which normally, when we follow that mindset, what is the result? Normally, we think that we are happy. We think that we actually found, the perfection. Oh, yes, I got what I wanted. And then how long does it last? And normally, what have you done in order to actually maybe hurt others, lie to others, do things, speak, do, think so you can get what you wanted? Let's face it, right? Isn't it? That is normally how the way we are. And all of that because also we are wanting, first we forget that we want to be happy and we don't want to suffer, and all sentient beings, every single person in this universe, every dog, every cat, every animal, every mosquito, every ant, everyone wants exactly that, to be happy and to not suffer. Then we forget that. Second, what we do is that the way we think we're gonna get happy is through sensory pleasures, immediate, you know, insta, as I say, insta food, insta smell, insta sex, insta insta Netflix, Instagram, insta, that's what we want. No, that's how we do it. But these experiences, as we've seen, they are absolutely, absolutely limited in giving us happiness. They are changing all the time. They have the nature of being changing, of change. They have the nature of, not being able to fulfill this innermost wish to wanting to be happy ever after, to never have to suffer again, to not kind of like, be with these ups and downs. That's what we are craving for. But the way we are trying to get there, the way we are trying to achieve that goal, wow, we're just creating more and more suffering. First, as we said, because we create this distance, this, we forget about what others, and we create this as if someone else, something else is different than us. All of these people that are suffering and all of that, totally different than us. We forget this basic humanity, this basic joint how can I say that, this basic, we share the same wish. So we forget that. We literally, we really forget that. Because if you, I really encourage you to try to do that in your life, in your daily life. Just try to bring that thought whenever you're having a problem, whenever you're having any situation, that person, that animal, whatever it is, just wants to be happy and not suffer. And see how your mind will already start to transform. So that is the main idea of Lojong and thought transformation. He's explaining to us, showing to us how our minds work and how our minds can work if we go towards tending to reality. Because the reality is that we are all wanting to be happy and not suffer. And not because the Buddha said, not because Kaldani said, but because we experience it. If you ask everybody in the world, every single sentient being, or if you just observe animals, animals are just wanting to be happy all the time. Think about now. Margaret can say about his dog, her dog. Her dog is always wanting either food, either to be pet, either to go for a walk, either to, all of these things that make him happy. Right? That's what it is. It's just one. Or when Margaret say, "Don't do this," and then he already say, and he goes and he wants to be free from that suffering. That's what it is. And we are exactly the same. We can see that. Especially with kids, I feel, if you have children, like if you watch children, children are just working like that. You know? Like now I have the little niece, and you can see the little niece kind of like, when it starts to have some sort of unpleasant situation, he just starts to, I want to get out of here. I want this to finish. Even when we are born, we already come with this. It's just like it's innate in that way. So that is very important that we start to understand that, oh, okay, so if I have that, all other people, all other sentient beings have the same. So that is why the text is talking about that. No? Talking about how they are, like wanting to, how I want to achieve that enlightened state, the term to obtain the greatest possible benefit, as we said. Wanting to do that, then, I, from all sentient beings, okay? From all sentient beings. So that means that sentient beings are the ones who can actually help us. And then he comes and says, oh, you guys cannot share. They cannot see the text. Wait again. I was thinking, who are more precious than a wish fulfilling jewel. What is a wish fulfilling jewel? It's a jewel that they say in the text that can actually fulfill any wishes. It's like Aladdin, you know, the genie of Aladdin. You know that? You heard about Aladdin? Yes, we're all from, you know, Disney fans, especially Disney World. With their Florida, we all know Disney World. So it's like Aladdin can create all of our wishes, all of our wishes. As we were saying, how can sentient beings be a wish fulfilling Jew? Well, because they're gonna go into the 2 points that are not allowing us to be enlightened, which is they're gonna go against, or they're gonna fight our self-cherishing, our selfish attitude. Why? Because we're gonna think about them, because we're going to realize that actually their wish is as valuable as ours, their wish to be happy and not suffer. And second is that we're going to go towards a more reality, or less contaminated or less wrong view. In what way? Because right now our view of a self-cherishing is a view of independency. I am independent of others. I don't need others. No, I can do whatever I want, however I want. I pay. I have my money and I pay for whatever I want. Isn't it? Like this we are. Then we forget that even if we have all the money in the world, we still need sentient beings to do everything for us. Right? We don't know. We cannot be self sufficient as we think we are. We are totally interdependent. And not only on the physical way, you know, that we, all the food, all the water, electricity, internet, you know, everything that it has, you know, a car, petrol, everything that we have right now depends on other people doing it. All of the comforts, all of the things that we enjoy depends on sentient beings' kindness. But not only that, as we were saying, but because they're going to help us to transform our minds into our more kind of like inner state. Why? Because they're going to help us to practice kindness, to practice generosity, to practice patience, to practice love, kindness, compassion. Because we need an object of that. Of course, we can just meditate and think about all of these beings, but if we don't have, you know, these beings in our lives to even think about them, then we cannot actually practice in this way. And more than that, if you think about it, you know, when we start this path, normally we also start with a little bit of just with the people around us, the closest to us. You know, we want them to be happy. And even that is already incredible. You're not thinking about even all sentient beings yet, but just wanting, you know, your mom, your dad, your friends, your colleagues, your children, whoever, to be happy. But then we need to go into what happiness means in the Buddhist path. Happiness in the way of what? Of perfection of our qualities, because we eliminated our wrong views and because we eliminated our self-cherishing. That's how we become happy. So that's why sentient beings are so valuable. They can give us not only everything that we want in this life, all the comforts, all of the nice things, all of the what is the name of the food? The burritos in Casamaya. You know, not only this they can give to us, but they can also give to us the practice of the qualities, these qualities that we can actually perfect, as we say. So sentient beings are a wish fulfilling Jew in this way. They fulfill all our wishes, and especially, as the text say, the most benefit, though the greatest possible benefit. So that is the way that we need to start realizing that actually, if we don't start thinking about others, if I don't start thinking about the basic needs, or the basic baseline wish of wanting to be happy and not want to suffer, I will never be happy myself. That is the transformation that the Buddha, that the Lojong text will bring to us. is that everything that we want to accomplish, if we want to accomplish, we need to think about others. Because, let's face it, we haven't accomplished yet happiness in the way that we can. Otherwise, we would not be here. Nobody needs, to this pep talk, blah, blah, blah talk from Cowden, if we don't realize that we are suffering in some ways. And the reason why we're suffering is because we are completely absorbed, self-absorbed, completely, we are junkies of our own me, myself, and I wishes, I just want me, 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 me. So then that mindset only brings us to more suffering. How? Because it is against reality in the sense that it makes us more and more away of more further from that interconnection, that interdependency. So whatever we're going to do with that mindset of just thinking about our own happiness will only bring us future suffering. And whatever we do with the mindset that thinks about other people's happiness and freedom from suffering will bring us happiness. That's why, when you start to look into people, and especially like the lamas, the big teachers, they are so happy. And why? Well, because they know that they're just wanting to help others. That's their goal of life. You know, that's what Rinpoche was so happy all the time. I have these little speakers that I put in my parents' garden with Rinpoche chanting mantras and things like, for the animals, for all the birds and all of the things that we have here. And there is one recording that is Rinpoche chanting Om Mani Padme Hum, the compassion mantra. And then Rinpoche just starts laughing at himself, like how he was chanting. And you can hear that laugh that is just like I remember the first thing that before seeing Rinpoche for the first time, I heard Rinpoche's laughing. And I started crying there because it was so pure. Because there is the purity when you have only in your mind the wish to benefit others. You don't have second hidden agendas, you know? You don't have anything. You just want these beings to be happy. And that will mean that then I'm just going to do whatever they want. I'm just going to be a doormat and, allow them to do whatever they want with me. No way. The opposite. I'm going to actually develop my own wisdom and my own compassion so I can help them in the ways that it needs to help. Right? So if I need to actually like give sometimes, a hard time on Jack because Jack is eating too many raisins for his breakfast, or that Bob, is doing something, I'm gonna kind of like, I'm gonna do it. Why? Because if the wish is there to wanting to benefit others, then we are not afraid of the external repercussion, let's say like that, or what people will say, or what people will think, all of that. But what is the most of benefit? So for that, we need to develop their inner strength. And their inner strength comes when we start to exchange the self-cherishing, self-centered attitude for an altruistic, for thinking about others. And seeing for our own experiences, it helps. It works. I am happier when I am thinking like this and living my life from that angle than actually just being only about myself, me, myself, and I. So that is what the text is encouraging us to do it. It's a mind training. Don't forget. So mind training is like going to the gym. You just go once to the gym? No. Right? You keep going to the gym. So you keep going and doing this training again and again and again. So that is why it's so important. At the end of this paragraph, the first paragraph, it says, I hold them most dear at all times. That is like the goal that we want to achieve, right? We want to achieve that wish to hold sentient beings dear to us, as dear as ourselves. Because right now, it's just me, myself, and I 100% of the time. So as dear as myself all the time. at all times. So that's why it doesn't make sense, if you just go to the gym once and then you want to like lose weight or be strong, it's not gonna work. If you want to practice altruism and open your heart to others, if you just do once, it's not gonna work. It's a all the time practice. It's a practice that it needs to be like the main center of our practice, of our day-to-day experience. Because right now, our main practice or our main status quo, our main way of like, of thinking is just thinking about ourselves, me, myself, and I. So that's why bodhicitta is so revolutionary, as Lama Yeshe used to say. This altruistic mindset. Why is different than different just compassion and being kind and loving like different other religions talk about? The difference. The difference is because we are not worried only for this life. We are not worried to be seen as a nice person, as a good Buddhist, as a good practitioner. Not like that at all. Because our aim is for the up the how you say up the greatest possible benefit, enlightenment for ourselves and others. So the way that we want to benefit others is to move them towards that goal. For them to be able to eliminate their sufferings and the causes of their sufferings and to develop their qualities in an unconditional and unlimited way. That is the goal. Is not just giving food, being nice, kind, and all of that. This might be the practice. You understand? Because maybe we are very irritated with people and then we don't have patience and all of that, so then that's the way we're gonna might do. But that is not the goal. We cannot stop there. As I say, sometimes when we start teaching or talking about bodhicitta, people start to think it's like, oh, I need to be the good guy, to be the nice, the good Christian, as we say, right? I just need to be the good Buddhist now. So, yes, I'm gonna speak slowly. I'm gonna put my hands like this. I'm gonna do like this. Oh, yes, 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 yes. Not like this. Nothing like that. What you do is that you check your own mind and you recognize how in your day-to-day lives you are being completely selfish, and you transform it. And you say, look at me here. I'm here and I'm just thinking about myself. Oh, what can I do to counteract it? There's so many beautiful examples, of the teaching of the teach in the teachings, even things like they would kind of like see themselves, like one of the stories is that there was this big meditator and he was meditating for many years, and then someone very important like came and said that they would like to come and see him and visit him. So he, he's, of course, he's meditating, so his place is like a cave, is a mess, right? It's like a mess. And then he started to clean everything, to put everything beautiful and all of that, and so he could impress that person, right? So it was, everything was selfish. Everything was just thinking about him and about how he, like, this person would be impressed and then would give him money or whatever, or food, So then he caught himself, and before the person arrives, he threw, all the ashes and make everything a mess again, so he could train his mind. So that means that if that is what we need, that's what we do. So we need to be creative. It's not saying how, in a way, how in the way of like, um, oh yes, you should always answer this. You should always talk like that. You should always say this. No, it's not saying that. No, that's not never gonna be the idea of the Buddhist path. Even if we're gonna have some examples now that will look like this, but the idea is not necessarily like that. The idea is to fight, to recognize our self cherishing, to recognize that we are just thinking about our own happiness and our own freedom from suffering, and transform it. To check this and say, actually, by thinking only like in this way, I am not going to achieve it. I need to think about others. And try and see how it transforms your life. Because that is the idea, thought transformation. That's what Lojong means, right? Transforming the mind. Lo, mind. Jong is actually training, transforming. So that is the idea. That is the main idea when we start the text saying the term to obtain the greatest possible benefit to achieve enlightenment. No, the term, so I am the term to do that from all sentient beings. So I see all sentient beings who are most precious as a wish fulfilling Jew, who are the most important beings in my life right now. I hold them most dear at all times. And that's the way, you know? I hold them most dear at all times. How this holding them most dear at all times will um, practically be, it depends on each situation. You will be the judge. Does it make sense what I'm saying? Do you understand what it means by that? By like you will be the judge on what is the method in that way, how you hold that person's ear, right? Does it make sense? Yeah? Because that is the idea that we're gonna kind of like start more and more and more go towards. We're gonna try like to go into that direction to think about others. And this is gonna not only bring extreme peace and happiness for ourselves, a type of happiness that is, as I say, is a mental happiness. When we are so um, attached or um, stuck in thinking only about ourselves, when you're kind of like, oh yes, because I need these or that, and taking out that mind from your life, just like making it not be there anymore is such a beautiful experience. It's such a That's what freedom is about in Buddhism. It's freedom internally, right? It's an inner freedom. It's not an external freedom only, it's the inner freedom of our own self-cherishing, our own delusions, our own negative habitual patterns. That's what we want to be free of. And the biggest pattern that we have is to be self centered, to think only about me, myself, and I. That is what we are kind of like mainly engaging our minds with. So, what we need to see is that because in some ways the self cherishing is a attachment to this me, isn't it? Is like, me is the most important thing in the universe. Me is the best. Me is perfect. I am perfect. I am like this. That's what attachment does. Now, attachment enhances or extrapolate, extra, blah, blah, blah. That thing, no? Goes extra, into the qualities of the object, of the person, of the situation. So we do the same with ourselves, you know? So we just become obsessed with ourselves, thinking that doing that, fulfilling the desires of these me, myself, and I will bring everlasting peaceful happiness. And then what we do is that, oh, it's just because I didn't get the new phone or the new partner or the new job or the new this. And we keep creating these stories to kind of like say, yeah, it's just because the right person hasn't appeared yet. That's why I don't have love and compassion. It's just because I don't find it yet the right. That's it. And then we just go through our lives thinking about ourselves, and that's why the world is like this. The world full of selfishness, full of like, me, my happiness. You're wrong because if you're going against what I want, then you are my enemy. That's how it always starts. All the problems of the world and the universe that we have right now comes from this self-cherishing mind. This mind that wrongly believes that it is the center of the universe and our happiness is the most important and only important thing in the universe. And every single being, from animals to people, they're here to serve us and to make us happy. That's normally how it goes. That's normally how we do it. Some people might be thinking, no, no, it's not like that. I am kind of like, I'm very kind. And yes, of course we are. We also have that. Because if we didn't have that, but that kindness, that love, and all of that, we would not be able to actually change. But we have. But it's contaminated. It's conditioned, as I say. Conditioned to what you got. What is in it for me? Is that how you say? What is in? Yeah, you say something like that. Yeah, what am I getting? You know, where is my kind of like my part of the deal, isn't it? It's always like this. There's always something that I have to get from. How about you get peace of mind that it doesn't actually need anything externally, just you. Melissa, you wanted to say something? Or someone wants to say something? No?
No, I'm so sorry. I'm sort of like in the car today, so that's why I've been
Very
listening
good.
and my car keeps switching my microphone on and off. I'm so sorry.
No problem, dear. No problem. I'm very happy you're here with us today. So that is like the type of what is the text is trying to encourage us to do, right? That is what the text is like guiding us to transform. No, it's like it's something that will help us to be more in harmony with not only our fellow brothers and sisters, human beings and animals, but also that we'll be more in harmony with that reality of not independency as we think we have, because that's what the self-cherishing mind creates, this wrong view of independency. And instead it's more in harmony with this, yeah, with the objective in some ways reality, which is interdependency. So this interdependency starts to really help us to be more in harmony, to be like, oh yes, this is our own wisdom, being inner wisdom being developed, and our own inner compassion, because we start to think about other people's suffering. No, because that is the definition of compassion, wanting others to be free from suffering. And what is love? Wanting others to be happy. So we start to develop these two qualities as well. So that's why, they are the jewel that satisfies, the wish fulfilling jewel that satisfies all our wishes. So their kindness is unlimited, kindness of sentient beings. And what we're going to see in the text is that there is even sentient beings that are even kinder to us, especially those, I don't know who already read the text, but especially those that are, you know, pushing our buttons, as I say. These are the best friends we have for mind training. Those people, those beings that kind of like, wow, 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 wow. Just thinking about them, we already start to get a bit of aversion, you know? Those are the best. Those are the best for us to start checking our minds and like cutting this self cherishing mind. So we're gonna see that in some ways the text, it's going always, all the verses are gonna be based in these realities, in these kind of like transformations of way to transform the mind from a selfish mind to an altruistic and going towards enlightenment. So we should never forget that. No, that's why the text, the author of the text started saying, like really, really, really saying, greatest, obtain the greatest possible benefit. It's not just like, I just want to get rid of that feeling or that person or not like this. Not like that. It's actually to achieve enlightenment. Okay? So, any questions, any considerations, any comments? You guys are very quiet today. Even Bob, but he just came from the hospital, so he's okay. I can't hear you, Bob.
No, I have a spiritual class before you on Thursdays from 5:30 to
Spiritual.
7:30 that I've been in
Come here
forever
ready.
with the teacher I've been with for 45 years.
So you're ready, Kobe. They throw the hostel in for another much better teaching. So then you're totally exhausted of blah blah blah. I totally
I'm
understand.
never exhausted. I'm never exhausted. I promise you, I'm never exhausted.
But that is the idea. Did you guys get it? Yeah? The main idea. So the homework for you guys, okay? On Thursday when I am there, we're gonna do a bit of discussion groups when I'm there, okay? So, but you guys, because it's online, we're not gonna do it. But when Thursdays when I'm there, we're gonna do a bit more. But instead of just if until we get there, to do the discussion groups, what you guys can do for homework is to think, just to think in any situation that happens in your life, how thinking about the well-being, the happiness, and the freedom from suffering of the other person, of the animal, of that situation will, how does it help you? If it helps you, and if it does, how? You need to go and experience that. Because then you start to actually experience, and say, oh, wow, it works. Transforming my mind from a selfish to an altruistic mindset helps me. That is what His Holiness always says, being wisely selfish. You think about others' happiness, and who wins? You. Because you're peaceful. You are free from the biggest cheater in the world, the self-cherishing mind. That is the biggest cheater in the world. Because it's cheating us, saying, I'm going to make you ever find happiness, finding everlasting happiness, And what it gives to us? Burrito in Casamaya, which is just like finishes in 5 minutes, then gone. That's what it does to us. Instagram, boom, boom, boom. That's what it gives to us. You know? But then this altruistic mind says, if you're free from that mind, only that, and you start thinking about only that, being free from that mind is already incredible. But even better when you think about others. So you use your time and you feel useful, you feel absolutely, powerful to actually transform other people's lives. Okay? So that is the idea. That is the benefit that we can do. Bob, any question?
Yes,
No?
is there a date you're going to be here?
Yes, I arrived 19th of July. So in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks. I just bought the tickets today. Yes. I just bought. So that is, if I don't die, of the airplane doesn't, crash while I'm getting there, then I'll get there. It's a Saturday, I think, 19th. Yeah, it's a Saturday, like I think 4 p.m. or something like this. And then on Sunday, on the 20th, we have the class over there at the center. We start like that. Okay?
You need to create as much merit as possible so that you get here safely.
Yes, exactly. The good thing is that it's not only depending on me, it's actually many, 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 many interdependent, aspects. So one of them is the dependence of the people in the plane. Then the other one is the person at the customs, or how to say that, the security, if they're gonna allow me to get in, or not, with all these new rules and all of that. And then of course there is the interdependence between you guys. If you guys think it's beneficial, if you guys create the causes as well, otherwise then no causes and conditions created. So, and especially I think the most difficult now that we have is the one at the airport, if they're going to allow me to get in or not. That is the one that we need to pray, make strong requests. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so try to do that as homework, okay? Just check. If I would think about the benefit of others, benefiting others, the happiness that this person, this animal in front of me wants to be happy and not want to suffer, how that helps you. How that, just thinking like that, transforming. It's like a reframing your mind in this way. How just thinking about that helps you, benefits you. So that is very, very important. So in this way, we're gonna dedicate. So we're gonna dedicate that everything, as Roy said, so we may create extensive merits, not only for us to be together in Florida, but especially for us to always be guided by perfect teachers as, Lama Yeshe, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, and especially His Holiness, who's turning 90 years old. And he just told everybody that the continuity of the Dalai Lama lineage will continue. So that means he's going to come back as the next Dalai Lama. So, but we hope that he can stay with us for a long, long time still. Not to go yet, but to continue here, benefiting us and all sentient beings as being a beacon of light and peace and love and compassion in the universe. So we dedicate for that whatever we heard, whatever we talk, whatever we exchange today may create the causes for His Holiness to be alive. As this interdependency, if we request and if He makes prayers, then, these two come together and then there's the power of interdependency. And then, we also request that all our teachers can have a long and healthy life, and also that Thubten Kunga Ling can continue to be this incredible place of teachings, of meditation, of contemplation, of community, of people wanting to transform their hearts, open their hearts, and transform their minds, to bring peace and happiness to the world. And we also dedicate that in this way, whatever we do in our daily lives can also bring, less anger, less attachment, that all of these wars and all of these like violence and all the incredible suffering that there is right now, also with sickness, all of that be eliminated by these prayers, and but what we do with our minds in our daily lives by thinking about others. That's the way. So we dedicate it in this way. Okay? So we're gonna do the dedication prayers, which I have no idea which page it is. Do you know, Jack? I think it's just down here, no? Brief dedication. I dedicate whatever virtues I have ever collected for the benefit of the teachings and of all sentient beings, and in particular for the essential teachings of Venerable Lojong Drapa to shine forever. May the precious, whoops, may the supreme due bodhicitta, how do I do that? Wait, I'll do that again. May the supreme due bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow, and may they which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. And then we do the long life prayer for His Holiness the Dalai Lama. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful Chenrezig Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. And then we're gonna do the swift return prayers for Lama Zopa Rinpoche. Rinpoche, who we have a strong karmic connection.
I put that in the chat too.
Yes, I put it here. Thank you. I saw it here. Thank you so much, dear. I put it here. These things to get out of the way. Peerless teacher, an assembly of the children of the victorious ones, Shravakas and Prateka Buddhas, victorious Lojong father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all objects of refuge of infinite lands, please bestow the virtue of goodness and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now. Holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice, you wear the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable Venerable Guru, to you I make request. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and for mother living beings, you suddenly departed to peace. What a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the three Jews and the great waves of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may this smile of a reincarnation swiftly be being in glory for fortunate disciples. So thank you so much. I'm very sorry that today I'm a little bit sick.
Thank you, Venerable Calden.
Thank you so much, and I see you very soon. I see you on
Thank you.
Sunday.
Thank you.
I hope that you guys can do the homework.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Venerable.
Feel better. Feel
Thank
better.
you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Melissa. Safe drive.